Long, long ago, when the world was still young and the sky hung low enough to touch the tallest trees, there lived Niame, the sky god, who held all wisdom in the world. Below, on the earth, the people were simple and knew little. They struggled, for they had no stories to guide them, no clever tricks to survive the harsh ways of life. But in the heart of the great forests of West Africa, where the trees whispered secrets and the rivers sang ancient songs, a small, cunning creature was born, Anansi, the spider. Anansi was no ordinary spider. He walked on two legs like a man, wore a hat made of woven leaves, and had eyes that sparkled with mischief. From the moment he first spun his web, he knew he was different. While other spiders caught flies, Anansi caught ideas. He listened to the wind, studied the ways of animals, and soon realized that the greatest treasure in the world was not gold or food. It was stories. But all stories belonged to Niame, the sky god, who kept them locked away in a golden box high above the clouds. Anansi, though small, was clever, and so he made a plan so daring that even the bravest warriors would tremble at the thought. He would climb to the heavens and trick Niame himself into giving up the stories. And so, with a deep breath and a twirl of his 8 nimble legs, Anansi began his journey, one that would change the world forever. Now, Anansi knew that reaching Niame's kingdom would not be easy. The sky was high, and the path was treacherous. But a clever spider had a trick for every problem. First, he gathered the longest vines he could find, twisting them into a strong rope. Then, he collected a calabash gourd, filling it with buzzing bees, a wooden doll smeared with sticky sap, and a swarm of biting ants. With these strange tools in hand, Anansi began his climb. Up and up he went, his legs straining as the earth grew smaller beneath him. But the higher he climbed, the stronger the winds became, threatening to tear him from his rope. Just as he feared he might fall, Anansi opened a calabash and released the bees. "Buzz, buzz, little ones," he whispered. "Fly ahead and tell the wind to quiet itself, for I bring gifts for Niame." The bees, eager to please, raced ahead and hummed sweetly into the wind's ear. The wind, curious and soothed by their song, calmed just long enough for Anansi to climb higher. But soon another danger appeared. The great storm cloud, rumbling and flashing with anger. Anansi did not flinch. He pulled out the wooden doll sticky with sap and tossed it into the storm's path. "Here, mighty one," he called, "a plaything for you." The storm cloud, amused, poked at the doll with its thunderous fingers, only to find its hand stuck fast. While it struggled, Anansi scurried past, chuckling to himself. At last, the final challenge stood before him, the sky python, coiled around the gates of Niame's palace, its golden eyes watching. Anansi opened his gourd one last time, releasing the biting ants. "Tickle the great serpent scales," he commanded. The ants swarmed over the python, nipping and tickling until the mighty snake writhed in laughter, uncoiling just enough for Anansi to slip through. And so, with wit and trickery, Anansi stood before Niame himself, the great sky god, who looked down in surprise at the tiny spider who had outsmarted the heavens. Niame, the great sky father, sat upon his golden stool, his robes shimmering like the Milky Way. His eyes burned with the fire of 1,000 suns as he beheld the audacious little spider standing before him. "Anansi, Niame's voice boomed like distant thunder. "No mortal has ever dared climb to my kingdom. What brings you here?" Anansi bowed low, his hat nearly slipping off his head. "Great Niame," he said, "I have come to ask for the most precious treasure you possess, your golden box of stories." The sky god laughed, and the heavens trembled. "You are small, Anansi, but your hunger is great. Many have tried to take my stories, great warriors, cunning chiefs, yet all have failed. What makes you think you can succeed?" Anansi rubbed his legs together, thinking fast. "Because I do not ask for them as a gift, mighty Niame. I ask for the chance to earn them." Niame stroked his beard, intrigued. "And how would you earn them?" "Set me any task." Anansi said, "No matter how impossible. If I succeed, the stories become mine to share with the world below. If I fail, I will be your servant forever." A murmur rippled through the sky. Spirits gathered around them. Niame's eyes gleamed. "Very well, little spider. Bring me 3 things. Onini the python, who is longer than the longest river. Osebo the leopard, whose teeth are sharper than spears. And the Moboro hornets, whose stings bring madness. Do this, and the stories are yours." The spirits gasped. Even the bravest gods had fallen to these creatures. But Anansi only bowed again, a sly smile curling beneath his many eyes. "It shall be done." And with that, the greatest game of trickery the world had ever seen began. Anansi returned to the earth, his mind spinning faster than a spider's web in the wind. First, he needed to capture Onini the python, a beast so long he could wrap himself around a baobab tree 3 times and still have coils to spare. No spear could pierce his scales, and no trap could hold him. But Anansi knew that strength was no match for cleverness. He found Onini basking by the riverbank, his iridescent scales glistening in the sun. Anansi cleared his throat and put on his most troubled face. "Oh, Onini," he sighed. "I have been arguing with my wife all morning. She insists you are shorter than this palm tree, but I say you are longer. Who is right?" Onini lifted his great head, offended. "Why would anyone compare me to a tree? I am the longest creature in the forest." "Then prove it," Anansi challenged. "Stretch yourself beside this tree so we may see." Pride swelling, Onini slithered straight as a spear next to the palm. "Now measure." "Ah, but to be certain," Anansi said, "you must stretch even straighter. Let me tie this vine loosely around you so you do not bend." Onini, eager to prove his might, allowed it. Anansi began winding the vine, first around the tail, then the middle, then the neck, all while humming and praising the python's magnificence. But with each loop, he pulled the vine tighter until suddenly, snap! The knots locked fast. Onini thrashed, but it was too late. Anansi had bound him like a bundle of firewood. "Forgive me, Great One," Anansi chuckled, hoisting the furious python onto his back. "But Niame will be most pleased with this gift." And with that, he carried the mighty Onini skyward, leaving the forest creatures whispering in astonishment. With Onini the python secured, Anansi turned his cunning to Osebo the leopard, a beast so fierce his roar shook fruit from the trees and whose claws could slice through ironwood. Hunters who dared track him never returned. But Anansi knew that even the mightiest predator could be caught, if the trap was sweet enough. He dug a deep pit along Osebo's favorite hunting path, covering it with thin branches and leaves. Then he plucked the ripest, most fragrant mangoes from the forest and placed them in a trail leading to the hidden hole. That evening, as Osebo prowled in search of supper, his golden nose twitched at the sudden scent of mangoes. "Strange," he growled. "Mangoes do not grow on this path." But the smell was irresistible. One by one, he gobbled the fruits until, crack! The ground vanished beneath him. A trap? Osebo snarled, scrambling at the pit's slick walls as Anansi peered down at him. "Greetings, Osebo," Anansi chirped. "How fortunate I found you. The whole forest knows you are the greatest jumper. Surely you can leap out of this little hole." Osebo bared his teeth. "Watch me." He crouched, muscles coiled, then sprang upward like lightning. But just as he reached the rim, Anansi yanked a hidden vine, snapping a log across the pit's opening. Osebo crashed back down, howling. "Tsk, almost." Anansi shook his head. "Perhaps if I lower a rope, you could climb. I would hate for the other animals to think you needed help." Pride burning hotter than shame, Osebo grasped the rope in his jaws. Anansi hoisted him up, only to loop the leash around a tree the moment the leopard's paws touched earth. "1,000 curses on you, spider!" Osebo roared, thrashing. "Save your breath, mighty one!" Anansi grinned, tying the knots tighter. "Niame prefers his gifts lively." And so the second impossible prize was won, not by strength, but by playing a leopard's pride against itself. With Onini, the python bound, and Osebo, the leopard trussed, only one challenge remained: the Moboro hornets. These were no ordinary bees. Their wings hummed with the sound of poisoned arrows, and their stings could drive a grown man to dance naked in the marketplace until death took him. Even the bravest warriors whispered their name in fear. But Anansi only rubbed his legs together and smiled. He hollowed out a calabash and drilled a tiny hole in its side. Then he filled a second gourd with water and crept to the hornet's hive, a massive nest hanging like a dark thundercloud from the tallest silk cotton tree. "Oh, great Moboro!" Anansi called, splashing water on his own head. "The rains have come early. Soon the floods will drown your hive." The hornet queen peeked out, her wings crackling with anger. "Liar! The sky is clear." "Are you certain?" Anansi pointed to the wet gourd in his hands. "I have gathered the first drops. Taste them." When the queen dipped her stinger into the gourd, her antennae twitched in surprise. "It is true," she buzzed. "But where can we go?" "Hide in my dry calabash," Anansi urged. "Quickly, before the storm." One by one, the hornets crawled through the tiny hole, their wings folded tight. When the last furious insect squeezed in, Anansi plugged the opening with a ball of resin, then danced a jig right there under the silent tree. "Oh, Moboro," he chuckled, "not even your stings can pierce Niame's greed." And with that, he carried the buzzing calabash skyward, the final prize in his 8-legged grasp. Anansi returned to the heavens, his back bent under the weight of his prizes. The python hissed, the leopard growled, and the hornet's furious buzzing filled the air like a storm. When Niame looked down and saw the 3 impossible gifts laid before his golden stool, his thunderous laughter shook the stars loose from the sky. "Anansi," boomed the sky god, "you have done what no god or man could do. But tell me, how did you trap creatures even I would hesitate to challenge?" Anansi bowed low, his hat tipping it playfully. "Great Niame, the strong rely on fang and claw, but the wise use trickery and wit. Onini was bound by his own pride, Osebo by his hunger, and the Moboro by fear of a storm that never came." Niame stroked his beard, his eyes gleaming with something new, respect. With a wave of his hand, he summoned the golden box of stories, its surface shimmering with the light of 1,000 tales untold. "A bargain is a bargain," he declared. "From this day forward, all stories belong to the people of the earth. But remember, little spider, they shall bear your name, so the world never forgets that even the weakest can achieve greatness through cunning." And so, Anansi became Anansi the Story Keeper. When he descended to earth and opened the box, tales burst forth like a flock of birds, some soaring with wisdom, some slithering with mischief, all alive with the magic of the trickster who won them. To this day, when the elders say, "We do not really mean it, we do not really mean it, this is only a story," they begin in the name of Anansi, and if you listen closely on quiet nights, you might hear the spider laughing in the rafters, still spinning his webs of wit and wonder. And so, dear friends, the story of Anansi the spider, the trickster, the weaver of tales, the small one who outsmarted the sky god himself, comes to a close. But remember this, stories never truly end. They linger in the air like the scent of rain on dry earth, waiting to be told again, to grow new roots in fresh hearts. Until next time, this is Uncle Ben signing off. Take care, and may the gods watch over you.